Can you survive without a fixed blade knife? Sure, why not? Most people don't really carry a fixed blade with them all the time. Some people do EDC them. I've got a small one that I like, but most of the time we have pocket knives, just like our dads and grandpas did. Maybe not the same kind of knife, but you get what I'm saying. Today I want to talk about a few knives that I find useful in the woods while I'm hiking, and also around the house, urban carry, things like that. Stick with me. All right, guys, so if you're trying to consider what knife you would want to take with you all the time, maybe you live in an urban kind of situation, maybe you want something for camping, something for use at home, something for anything, okay? You're going to be looking for something that is easy to sharpen, okay? Has multiple uses. You know, a lot of people like to carry multi-tools and things like that. So I want to start this off with talking about this Benchmade Bugout, or whatever it's called. This is a pretty good knife. It's pretty well made. You can open it with one hand, okay? It's made out of a pretty good steel. My thing with something like this is it's only got one use. Now, you could use this as like a self-defense type thing if you're in a place where you can't carry a handgun. I typically don't go to places where you can't carry a handgun, and since I have a handgun, I'm not going to be trying to cut anybody. Really don't want to do that anyway. So this is, the steel in this is a S30V, okay? Now, when you get into these, like what they call super steels and whatnot, personally, I like to be able to sharpen my knife on a regular stone with water or honing oil or just whatever I choose. Something like this, you're going to need a diamond file or maybe a belt sander, which is what my buddy does. So if you're going to do that kind of thing, great. I don't like to rely on electricity and special equipment to be able to sharpen my knife. I want to be able to do it the same way, you know, my grandfathers before me did, just on a wet rock, you know. These, you could probably do that. It's going to take you a long time. You're not going to want to do that in the field or anytime, really, to be honest with you. This knife sucks to sharpen by hand. It's a good knife. I carried it for a few years, and it just kind of gets put in the drawer, and then I'll get it back out and carry it for a while. I alternate with the knives that I carry. So for me, this is a no-go. This is not, maybe in an urban situation, if I'm not going to be, you know, in the woods or anything like that, maybe something like this. Now, it is nice. It does have the advantage of a pocket clip, whereas like a slip joint knife is, you know, it does have a pocket clip. If you're laying in a hammock or on a couch or whatever, you turn upside down, your knife's going to fall out of your pocket. Happens all the time. But, you know, for many, many years, people carried knives without pocket clips, and there's ways around that, like belt pouches and things like that. But for me, you know, I like Benchmade knives for what they are, but this is just not my style of knife. It's just, I carried it for a while and it's not for me. It does have a locking blade with a little, some kind of weird safety lock you pull down on there. So it's a good knife. It's just not something that I want in the woods, you know. Now, second to that is my old trusty Leatherman Wave. Guys, I carried this as my main pocket knife for a long time. It also has the one-handed capability. You've got you've got two blades, one serrated and one not. Now, this one came with, I can't remember what the blade steel it was that came with it originally, but I put a S30V blade on it. And of course, this one gets sharpened at my buddy's house with a belt sander. He's pretty good at that kind of thing, so with these kinds of knives, I just let him sharpen mine for me. I don't want to have to buy equipment. I actually bought one of those True Sharp trigger pull belt sander things, and I hate it. I almost ruined this knife. I don't know if you can tell, but just the way it sits down in there, it kind of took a little bit more off here than I wanted it, and you can almost knock the tip off if you're not careful. So again, I like to use rocks. It's a therapeutic kind of a thing for me. I just want to do it the old way and be done with it. I don't want to have to buy equipment. So anyway, there is a lot of advantages to having something like this. Now, it is a little bulky. I put a pocket clip on this, but I did carry it for a long time until I got tired of having that weight in my pocket, and I like to be able to slip my hand in my pocket and do other things and put other things in there. This just kind of got in the way. I do carry this when I'm fishing because of the pliers, and this thing comes with, you know, all kinds of stuff on it. You got a file on the outside, you got your regular blade, your serrated blade, and it's also got a saw, which I actually like the saw a good bit. And that's one of the tools on the outside of it. This is a very good saw. It works very, very well. You can use it on a fire striker. It's got a 90-degree spine. You know, I have cut a lot of things, wet and dry wood both. I've notched out lumber and things with this before. This is a very, very good saw. Leatherman makes good products, and I like them. Everything on the outside is a locking blade, like a, what do you call it? Slip, I can't remember. Anyway, this one here, now a lot of these now, the way they make them is it has a replaceable blade, okay, on your wire cutters. I don't like that. I've heard that they break. This is the only one I've ever had. Works just fine for me, but if you're considering something like this and you don't already have one, I'd go with the old standard, you know, fixed cutting in there instead of like the removable one. Okay, now this particular multi-tool has been modified. It has a really good can opener on it. I've used it quite a bit. You know, using corn to catch fish in a pond or whatever, open a can. It works really well. You could also use that as a bottle opener. And it has, I don't like this thing. Now you can get different torque bits and things and extensions to go in this, and this pops in and out. I don't like that. It had another one on the other side, a smaller one for like very small, say flatheads and things like that, for if you want to work on your glasses and things. So I'd taken those out and I put just other screwdriver blades in here, like smaller ones for working on different things like guns and whatnot. And I did leave the awl in there. I like that pretty good. So I can use that to, if I've got a really tight knot in a rope or something, I can kind of get that undone. If it's, say, sometimes your rope gets wet and then it dries and it's kind of hard to get undone. So anyway, I really like this multi-tool. This stays on the outside of my pack. It used to stay in my pocket. And I kind of wish I hadn't modified it now, because I've taken the scissors out of it, and when I'm fishing now I kind of want the scissors back. You know, something to consider. Like I said, I can't sharpen this on a stone. It's got to have, you know, a diamond file or what have you, and I just don't want to do that. So now my next knife has been my go-to for some time now, and that is my Swiss Army Huntsman. So I was carrying the Hiker, which is a good option, but it's like a 3 section, and this is a 4. I like this a lot. I get a lot more options out of this knife. So first of all, I can sharpen this on a stone. Swiss Army knives have really, really great blade steels for a stainless. I'm not the biggest fan of like a spear point or a semi-spear point. I tolerate it with this because it's such a good knife, and it has more of a dropped spear point on it. So, you know, if you are digging around a piece of wood, it works out pretty good. Okay, now this one has a large blade and it has a small pin blade on it, which I use quite a bit. I use this around the house a lot, opening packages and unpackaging Barbie dolls and things like that for my kids. You know, you get something from Amazon, what have you. Now, this one also has a saw blade on it, and it's a fairly good saw blade. It's not as large as the one on the Leatherman, but this is also a very sharp, very good saw. Also 90-degree spine. You can use it on a ferrocerium rod. I've done it many times. Works quite well. I really like this knife. It has scissors on it. These scissors are super sharp. And if you notice the end of the scissors here, they're kind of rounded. So if you've got like a splinter or something in your hand, say you need to cut a piece of skin, you could sit there and nip at your skin without completely cutting yourself open to get that splinter out, you know, things like that. But they also work on other materials too, other than skin. And of course it's got the, excuse me, your standard, you know, your bottle opener, your flathead, and that's supposed to be, I think that's supposed to be like a wire stripper in there, and I'm not going to use that. But and your can opener with your smaller, that can be used on a small flathead that can also be used on a Phillips. Okay, so with that being in there, there is a knife called the Fieldmaster. Okay, and it has a 3D Phillips head attachment on it, whereas this one has the corkscrew. I don't have much use for the corkscrew. Okay, the Phillips head would be better, but I kept this knife because someone found it and gave it to me. But not only that, you can use a little insert here. Okay, and that small flathead is perfect for the screw that you use on the back of, like, say, your Sunto compass for changing the declination on your compass. It fits right in there. It's perfect. So I left that in there. And also, one of my viewers, I think it was Patriot Preacher 43, I believe they mentioned this to me. I didn't know about it. There's a little hole in there, and so I stuck a straight pin in there. You can see where that just kind of slides in there, and it won't come out. And when this is locked down, it has no way to come out in your pocket or anything anyway, in case you need that to dig out a splinter or what have you. I don't know, scratch all, whatever you want to do. Make a mark on a piece of wood, trying to measure something. Just whatever you want to use that for. I really like this little traveler's hook. You can do all kinds of things with this. You could use that to, you know, if you bird nest a fishing rod. If you've got a bail handle on a pot, you can use this if it's hot to lift it up with, if the bail's not too big and won't go in there. All kinds of things you can do with this little hook here. This one also has, if I can get it out, I'm missing a thumbnail where I shot myself months back with the slingshot, but super sharp ball, and you can use this for repairing gear, you know, punching holes and things and whatnot. It's got a little hole in there you could stick a piece of string through, whatever you want to do. So you can see that this knife has quite a bit more options, I think, depending on how you look at it or what you need it for, than the Leatherman, except for the pliers. Having pliers is pretty handy when you need them. When you don't, you know, you can get by with something like this. This has become my main EDC knife for just about anything, really. I really like this knife. I keep one of these lanyards on it in case I want to put it in like my fifth pocket in my jeans or something. I can pull it right back out. The disadvantage of this is you don't have the pocket clip. It could fall out of your pocket. All around, this is probably one of the best knives I've ever carried. So let's see what else is in here. The scissors, I think I went through. Yeah. So that's pretty much it on that. Now, like I said, the other one is the Fieldmaster. This is the Woodsman. Okay. Now I want to show you the knife that has been rivaling this knife for me, and I go back and forth between the two quite a bit now, and that is my Boker 2-blade trapper. Okay, your pawpaw knife. Now this knife is 4 1/4 inches long, closed, I believe, so it's quite a bit in your pocket. I have a leather pancake, sort of a scabbard or sheath that sits down. It'll sit down about that far in there, and I can reach in there and pull it out. It goes on my belt. Only problem with that is where it's comfortable for me to wear. That's typically where I put my pistol. So a lot of times I just throw this thing in my pocket. But so, you know, you got your standard clip point blade, and this is a good sized blade for a pocket knife. Okay, you want to peel an apple, whatever, you want to clean a fish. This knife is really good. This is your general task blade, you know, whittling sticks, whatever you got to cut on. And then you've got your large spay blade. Now, I really like this blade. I only use this blade for, say, food, or, you know, if you want to process game with it, of course, that's what it's for. But, excuse me. Cutting food at a campsite, this is a good sized blade for that, okay? You can slice right through things, and this thing is razor sharp. Now, the one thing about this Boker knife, this one is made out of, I believe it's C75, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that's relative to, you know, 1075. I like 1095. It's a good steel to sharpen. This knife right here, I can sharpen on a stone with water or oil or whatever I want to do. I don't have to have a crazy diamond file knife. You can do a lot with this little 2-blade knife here. Big fan of it. It's a good working size. You can get 4 fingers on it. You've got a heck of a lot of blade on either blade. It's just a good all-around knife if you know, not into all the screwdrivers and tools and things. Sorry guys, my throat's been a little scratchy this week. So, but now Boker has recently started all of their, like, say, Stockmans and smaller pocket knives. If you're looking into something like that for a slip joint, like, say, Stockman 3-blade knife, 2-blade, whatever. They've got the 2-blade mini trapper, which is about 3 1/2 inches, just like your standard medium-sized Stockman. But they're moving to D2 tool steel. Now, again, that's a harder steel to sharpen. So they are offering these. I think they might be available now. These standard-sized trappers in 1095, and I may be picking one of those up because I think I might like it just a little bit better than this one. But I've had this knife for a while now. It's bone handled, jig bone, dyed red, and really good quality knives, guys. Excellent knives. Now, sometimes you may want a knife for a specific task, you know, out in the woods. So this is a mushroom foraging knife by Opinel, and it is hawkbill. That's right. You gotta, this is my wife's. You gotta twist it like this to open it up. To basically unlock it, and then you can twist it back to lock it so it has a locking blade. Now, hawkbill style knives. My dad has only carried, as far as I know, my entire life, a hawkbill style knife. Not one like this. It would be like a Klein or an old Camillus or what have you. This makes for a good tradesman knife, or they were originally a pruning knife. Okay, but they're good for cutting carpet, or he used it on sheetrock. I've carried them some, stripping wires at work and things. I just kind of went to a box cutter. But these are kind of hard to sharpen. It's just odd with the blade shape, you know. But this, I believe Opinel makes theirs out of 1095 steel. So this is a good steel too. You got to keep it clean and oiled or it'll rust, you know. Doesn't bother me. But this is a mushroom forging knife. It's got the brush on the back here. And that brush actually works pretty good for cleaning the dirt off your mushrooms, okay? But I'm not going to be able to do much else with this knife as far as campcraft or, you know, survival or anything like that. This is not going to be an EDC or survival or camping knife for me. This is just something to get out there, walk around, pick mushrooms. But guys, I'm going to tell you something. A mushroom is soft most of the time. You can cut a mushroom with any kind of knife you want, okay? So you see these people foraging for mushrooms and wild edibles on YouTube and everything, and they have their knife and they're just, you know, you don't have to do that. You can cut it with anything. You can almost cut them with a butter knife, a lot of them, or you just pinch them off the ground. It's not a big deal, okay? So anyway, it's a neat little thing if you want to use that. So if I could only pick one of these knives to have with me, no fixed blade or nothing, what am I going to go with? Well, it's almost a draw between these two. I really enjoy using this knife. I can do a lot with this knife. Probably going to have to go with this one here. Now, this one has larger blades on it, which are more suitable for me for, you know, catching trout, things of that nature. But I can do more with this. It doesn't have a pair of pliers. And you could pair this with, you know, what is it, the little, the Knipex Cobras, those small channel locks or pair of pliers or something like that. You know, if you want to bypass Leatherman altogether, if you already got one of these, and get you a nice set of pliers. But I do like the needle nose pliers. But these two knives, if this one's not in my pocket, this one is most of the time. That's just kind of how it goes for me. So anyway, guys, that's kind of my thoughts on camping knives and survival knives, you know what I mean? So let me know what you guys carry. Maybe you have something that I want to buy. All right, guys, that's all for now. Take care. We'll see you later.